So, Dr. Mazzella, it sounds like you're saying that the reason it's so difficult and people feel kind of trapped in these relationships, they want to leave, but they want to stay at the same time,
Hmm.
is because of this shared fantasy. They're actually getting something of value to them
Yes,
by being in the relationship.
yes, yes,
But
yes,
as time goes by, the relationship starts to show more negativity as well.
yes, that's right. But what happens then is because, that's why I wanted to give that little bit of like theory, because if they grew up with that kind of caregiver that I mentioned a moment ago, and they didn't internalize that soothing, comforting, empathic voice, then they need to get it externally in order to hold themselves together. And when I say hold themselves together, what I mean is, this is commonly understood, is with all personality disorders, there's this thing called splitting. And splitting just means there's a fragmented sense of self, right? So, in other words, if they don't get it externally, they begin to fall apart. It's so powerful that the external validation helps them, um I like sort of identify, like that's their identity. Like, in other words, they don't know who they are separate from the fantasy. And I'll tell you, and this is very common, I see this in my practice because, again, I work with many narcissistically disturbed patients, helping them begin to give up the fantasy, which could be the relationship that you and I are describing. It could be the grandiose sense of self. That's a fantasy too, by the way. It could be any addictive type of behavior, just so you know. So I just want to make that clear to the audience. It's not just an addiction to a person in a relationship. It could be any addiction. And that's why these relationships, by the way, are often compared to addictions. Like, you get really addicted to this person, but not to the person, but to the image and all of the fantasy, the hope, the dreams that come along with being with this person. So what happens is, slowly over time, as I help them begin to give up the fantasy, it is terrifying for them. And they feel like, I don't know, how would I make my own decisions? I don't even know what my own decisions would be. Someone is always controlling me. If you think about the more vulnerable narcissist, let's say, who always feels controlled by somebody. So it is not just the loss of a fantasy, but then what's necessary is to build up a sense of identity for probably the first time in their life, especially if they grew up with narcissistically disturbed parents, because they could have been there to always please the parents. You've heard of the false self.